Councilor Bracken.
He is trying to join by Zoom.
Yeah,
He's
he's-
en route and
Okay. So I'll circle back.
circle back. He will hopefully be present before the end of the meeting.
Chair Danforth.
I'm here.
Councilor Dume.
Here.
Councilor Higgins.
Here.
Councilor Mackin.
Here.
Councilor Llewellyn.
Here.
Councilor Pelletier.
Here.
And if he's not back, then I'll just know when he does enter.
Tom's in the waiting room.
And before going forward as well, those people joining by Zoom, you do need your first and last name to appear on the screen. There's somebody that is labeled iPad 3 currently. We need your first and last name in order to stay in the meeting. And at any time somebody on Zoom wants to speak, we will need to see your face. You'll have to come on video. But we will give iPad 3 a little bit of time to add their name, and if not,
And Matt is actively joining.
he's traveling, so we probably won't see.
Here he is.
Councilor Bracken, we're just doing roll call.
Present.
Thank you.
There you go. And he has advised me he's traveling, and if he's not on the screen and we're taking a vote, we just will be include him in the vote. So did he say? Okay. So we've taken care of roll call. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I just wanted to take a minute, because today is September 11th. It's a very significant day in our nation's history. We all know. So on behalf of the council, I want to thank Chief Cody and his staff at the fire station for sounding the horn this morning in recognition and honor of the lives lost in terrorism shown on that day. And for the same reason, after we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to take a moment of silence before we sit down and start our town business right after the Pledge of Allegiance. Also, we were notified last week that a former manager, Paul Bird, I think it was 1999, he served our town. He had, somewhere around that time, he passed away. So out of respect for his service to Millinocket, the council has also asked that we take a moment of silence for Mr. Bird as well. So we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll just take a minute for those two. Thank you so much. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we do have one adjustment to the agenda. The discussion on recreation services communication is going to be moved to after order number 201. That was based on request by councilors to move it to the end of the meeting after the last order. Seeking approval of minutes of August 28th, 2025 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second. Motion made by Councilor Dume, second by Councilor Llewellyn. Are there any council comment for the meeting minutes? Any from the public? Seeing none, we'll take a vote on approval of these minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're not going to, he's not on the screen, so we will just take it. Okay, so that passes 6-0. That will take us right into our special presentation. So we have Peter Walls is going to come to the podium and
Oh, sure. Yeah, so,
We know you, Randy Jackson.
Randy Jackson, 95 Knox Street, Millinocket, Maine. And I do want to point out Joyce, who is McEwen, who has done a wonderful mural on the side of the building downtown. She's finishing it up. It looks great. So thank you very much. This, Peter Walls and I have run into each other over the past many years in our culture and arts and heritage section of the town. I've invited him to show what is going on in culture, heritage, and the arts. So Peter is appropriately dressed for helping you, Joyce, do the mural out there. If you need some help. Anyway, so I'll let him present his description and link up to the various things that are going on in the mural aspect of the world. Thanks.
Thanks, Ed. You hear me fine? So my name's Peter Wallace, like Randy mentioned. I've been an artist for almost 30 years now, and for the past 7 years I've been doing community work, mostly mural painting, but hence I'm dressed the way I am on my way up here today. Luckily, on my way in Bangor, there was a 134-foot community mural being painted where we had.
Mr. Walls,
Yep.
do you mind just speaking right into the
Speaking
microphone? Yeah. I was getting some feedback from
Okay.
it.
You can make it right on the table and face the camera.
Or you can hold it right in your hand. Yeah.
There we go.
I'm usually in the studio or on the streets painting, so this is not normal. So anyway, so I took a few pictures of today's. So this whole week they've been painting this community mural. I just wanted to show some pictures. It was pretty exciting to have. We have at least 40 to 60 people, volunteers out every day. Most of them not artists, most of them just wanting to be part of this. And that's the exciting part for myself. Sorry. So this one is an artist from Machias, Maine. And she came and worked with Bangor Beautiful, which is a nonprofit, which I'll talk about a little bit shortly. But it's working with the Maine Audubon Society. So she created a mural, different birds of the region. Very graphic, but to cover that much square footage to beautify this pretty much an eyesore area on State Street. Anyway, so that was my morning, but coming up this way. So since 2019, I've been working with public arts. Really, I started as a studio artist, and now I work with the community. And I find I've had to relearn what it means to be an artist, how to work with the community, all the integral parts of it, design professionals, work with the officials of the city, the town, with community members, creating art that's not for you, but it's for the community. So that becomes a whole new way of thinking about art making. For those that are interested, ever since I worked with Randy up here, I've become more active in getting my information out. So working with Maine Arts Commission on my website, at the moment it'll be on the Maine Arts Commission website shortly, is everything I've been done in terms of information for making public art, murals. This goes to materials, how to find funding, how to locate resources, how to talk with the community. Anyways, if anyone's interested, it's a new resource we have up. So I'll say first, one great way to start art making, this is wheat paste murals. These are very temporary. Bangor's done it for the past 6 years. Other small towns have done it up and down the coast. So this is a technique where we create designs, and they're using a wheat paste technique, so they're temporary on the walls. They don't ruin anything. In the ideal world, they get put on, and we try to get them off within a year so they don't become an eyesore. That's a big problem with public art, is making sure the work has a quality that withstands time. So another way of thinking about public art too is a lot of towns and cities are working on a utility box program where we're trying to beautify what's become these objects that are everywhere to create more interesting infrastructure. The Maine Arts Commission recently commissioned the Color Wizard. He's a muralist from Lewiston who created this whole series in Lewiston of which I find is a great way to start thinking about public art outside of painting on walls. And I will say, again, it's thinking about art that has a quality to it, that works for the community, whatever community it's in. I find that nature is usually a great tie together for most people. We all love the outdoors for whatever reason. So the next thing, talk about public art in terms of reinvigorating communities, in terms of old buildings, structures. I think this was in 2015, 16. Annette Dodd in Bangor. She's an ex-school teacher. She's a co-owner of the Rock and Art Shop in Bangor. She went out on her own and created this mural because she wanted her city to be a little more interesting. And when people drive in, she decided to do something that was what she thought was an appropriate entrance to Bangor for her. She talked to the city. She learned how to talk to the building owners. Learned about, she did this one all on her own, which was great. And I met her a couple of years later. First, I met Randy in between. We came up here in Millinocket. We worked on this little project, which was fun. I grew up in a small town in Lake Ontario in western New York State, so about the size of Millinocket. So having public art in small towns and communities is super important to me. So this one's in Bucksport, on the side of the Alamo Theater, if you know Bucksport. So this was with the Maine Community Foundation, or not unlike Millinocket, trying to lift up their mill town after losing the mill. So this was the first project to bring major art into it. And I worked with artist David Hurley. So we were given this 18-foot by 60-foot wall to deal with a $5,000 budget. And it's like, how can we create something on this wall that's interesting, talks about the river. We're on the Penobscot River also. We're talking about the fish, history of logging. But we work on panels, so we work on shaped panels, which we then attach to the buildings so that we don't have to paint the brick, which most people don't like their historic buildings touched, which is great. This way we can tie in a 1/2-inch MDO substrate into the grout lines. And if they ever get removed, it's just a quick repointing and no damage done. So another way to think about making art is how you don't hurt your structures, hurt your buildings, and bringing some beauty in with knowing you can get, it can be removed if needed for whatever reason. So this one is 2023. This is when I met Annette Dodd, who did the Bangor greeting mural. So this is the post office ramp in front of the post office on Franklin Street. Huge eyesore. There's businesses across the street. It's the entrance to the Kenduskeag Stream Trail. And she always wanted to do something to this to make it more interesting. So we approached the city. We asked permission from the post office and the town and the city of Bangor, and got permission to create some drawings. And we came up with this. So Annette created the backdrop design, and I do all these cutout animals, which is sort of what I do. But they all dealt with animals on the stream itself. And again, we started working, having the community come in and paint with us. So when we were painting, you grab a brush and you come in and join us. And you'd be surprised how many people start walking up and taking ownership of this mural. And when they're done, it's their mural too. It's not just something that we made. So right after that mural, which I'll say, Annette, she was able to get the funding for half of the mural of about $4,000 through sales of posters of her other project, the Bank of Greeting. And then we needed more money, so we wrote our first grant together. So through the Maine Arts Commission, we got a project grant for $5,000, which just kicked the project. So it happened immediately instead of, will this happen next year? No, it's going to happen now. So, and after that, she realized she could write grants, which is awesome, because then she went and started Bangor Beautiful, which is this new nonprofit that deals with everything from tree planting to community outreach and beautification of Bangor. So I encourage everyone to go to that website, and you can see the projects they're working on. I think they're on mural number 10 coming up, and not including the one we worked on today. And in 2 weeks, we do another school mural. And then, right after that, she brought in Matt Willey, who's a national artist. She decided she would fund a big project to get the community excited. And somehow she raised $40,000 to have this painted. And she went out and did it. And it's one of those funny things. Once you get enough projects going, people get excited and people want more. This is a 3-story honeybee mural that he's painting. Excuse me 1 second. He's painting 50,000 honeybees around the world, and he's on mural number 80, I think, right now. But getting him to come to Bangor was a huge lift, not only for the mural making, but they also deal with pollinator gardens in Bangor. So this was a big part of initiating that program. So one program leads to the next. So now they have a pollinator gardens with the trees and murals that represent that. And it's great photo op. So another way, I work with a lot of art centers around Maine. This one's with Waterfall Arts in Belfast, which is an old elementary school from the 60s. I've never liked the building because it never looked like an art center to me. So I met the art director one day and I just asked her right away, can we paint your building? And she's like, yes, let's do it. And then of course we got into the brick issue and all the dealing with the town, the city, the town of Belfast, and the building owners. And we came back to the panel idea, which we could attach. So we went with the honeycomb design, and we invited 32 artists from Waldo County to come and paint panels representing, we called it Here's Magic. It's about home, place. And it was pretty amazing to teach. A lot of these artists haven't made murals before, so this was their first mural project. But once they saw that their small part made the whole part, made the whole picture. And all these panels, they're all about 5 feet by 5 feet, approximately. And we had one of the biggest turnouts in the community for this project. Belfast is notorious for not wanting public art in their town because they don't want their buildings touched. But now it's changed, the attitude's changed. And we have 2 new big projects coming up next year. And then back to Bangor, and that wrangled me into working with the schools and their pollinator gardens. So all the elementary schools in Bangor now have pollinator gardens, which they learn about gardening, pollinators, nature. So we're going to create a backdrop mural for each school. So this was the first one. So I had the 150 kids each create drawings of what they were learning in their classes. And we came back with 600 sheets of drawings. And I had to design this in thinking, how can I make this their mural? So I decided at the end, it's not going to be my drawings. I took all of their drawings and I put them into a larger image. So, which is really fun. It's bold and colorful. And then we have all 150 kids paint this mural together over 1 week. And it's pretty big. It's about 30-something feet, 32 feet by 16 feet tall. And every day when they come to school, I walk by their mural, and they all know their critters. But it's another great way to think about working with your schools, working with your other, I work a lot with hospital systems, nature centers.
So, break the suspense, do you have a project for Millinocket?
I can think of plenty. And that's, that again, working with, I love working with people like Randy, who, I love coming to these communities and seeing what they want to do. I work with a lot of communities. I work at Foxcroft, we're working with them, trying to, they want to create a huge initiative. They didn't get their grant this year, but they'll get the next one, so. But yeah, there's plenty here to do. And this one sort of relates in some respect. My wife and I actually did this project with a land trust down in, land trust. So we did a project in Belfast. They have one of their trail systems there. And they allowed us to create, we called it jewelry for the trees. So these were mural pendants, which we suspended in the trees for 3 weeks. It was a way of bringing art out to places you don't normally see it. And they're all 4 foot by 32 inches wide. So they're pretty large. They change every time of day, and rain and wind. But it was a great way to think about art, not in the gallery, not in the usual spots. And that's sort of the goal, I think. And again, this is a hospital. We're from the Penn Bay Hospital. Someone approached about if we ever, we can work in there, creating murals for the psychiatric ward. They're redoing all the holding rooms. And it was one of the most interesting projects in the regards to what you can and can't paint for psychiatric patients. Everything's a trigger. So it was a learning experience. But I had taken 12 of the artists from the Waterfall Arts mural who just learned about mural making and brought them into this project so they could learn the next step of painting on walls. So we really gave them, we gave each room a room that allowed a space to sort of look at and drift out. It was an interesting project because I get a lot of responses today in terms of people who have family members who go there. None of these walls have ever been damaged, which is another thing the hospital's even amazed about, because normally there's a lot of issues in the holding rooms. Again, I think it's like art. It's precious to everyone.
Sure.
The same thing happens with outdoor art. I mean, rarely do you get graffiti and stuff, and people always worry about that. But people don't want to wreck beautiful things. And so I'll just end with some of the, so right now I'm working, like I said, working with a lot of communities and other people getting themselves up and running. So this is the WOW Collective. It's 4 Waldo County women who are joined forces to create murals. This was their first mural they did for a Bonner Farm. And it's 36 feet by 8 foot, I think. And it's pretty impressive to see these people have never created art on the scale, and then what it does for that building secured in time, so she's learning the process. You know, you have to start a year ahead of time if you want to get a building and all the issues that go along with that. But she decided, I'll make temporary murals, and she moves these around the town. So that's, I think it's pretty nice. So anyways, so this is just a little bit of what's out there, and this is really just the painted art. There's a lot, you know, a lot of sculptors and musicians and performance art, which are also integrated into this, which, I mean, I'd love to see more of that happen. Anyway,
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Walls, for showing us what's possible, and we know that art is very important, and help the community, we need more of it.
Yeah.
I know I'll ask if any of the counselors have any questions or comments. I appreciate seeing what's possible. Anybody from the public? Mr. Jackson?
I think it's interesting to note the different forms that the murals can take, and the ones that don't harm the buildings that Peter has been involved with, and also you know, painting on the brick and utilizing the mobile murals. So there's much to do as far as arts and culture and heritage. The other thing is, I will mention that the lobby to the Boreal Theater will be all painted with the mural coming up, but that'll be a surprise. You'll love it. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Randy Jackson. So we will continue with order number 202-2025.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I interrupt for a
Yes,
moment? I
please.
just want to let the clerk know that there's quite a few more
Okay. Thank you.
people have joined in during that presentation, so she can take a new.
So that gives me a chance to see that we do have a full screen of people joining by Zoom. Welcome. However, to stay in the meeting, you need your first and last name to appear on the screen. So if only your first name or your last name isn't there, we need you to make that adjustment in order to stay in the meeting. And just as a reminder, when it comes time, if you want to make comment and speak with us, you need to have your video on. So we'll give those with just a first name or not a full name on there to correct that. That would be great. And if it's not corrected, then we'll have to remove you from the meeting. Thank you, everybody. So. So let's go ahead and, Councilman Ball, can I have you read order number 202, please?
Certainly, order number 202-2025, providing for street closure for Trails End Festival. Whereas the additional attached request was received on September 8th, asking to extend the Poplar Street closure, accommodating Trails End Festival setup. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the closure of Poplar Street from Penobscot Avenue to Katahdin Avenue from 6:30 p.m. Thursday, September 11th through Sunday, September 14th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman McCollum, seconded by Councilor Higgins. Any council comment on this order? Any public comment on the order? Seeing none, back to the council for a vote on order number 202. All those in favor? Thank you. The motion passes 7-0. I know Mr. Malcolm is listening in, and he has requested, so we've got that vendor can go ahead and start setting up in a half hour as per your request. There we go. We don't have a manager's report tonight, so we're going to go right into order number 195. Councilor Dumaine, I have to read that.
Yes, Madam Chair, order number 195-2025, providing for the execution of the prior fiscal year town warrant for September 11th, 2025. It is ordered that the prior fiscal year town warrant for September 11th, 2025, the amount of $4,480.50 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Dumaine, seconded by Councilor Brackett. You have heavy hitters? Well, it looks like it might be one.
I think I just have one, and that's for blacks, and that's for damage from fire, repairing from the Millinocket fire. providing for the execution of the town warrant for September 11, 2025. It is ordered that the town warrant for September 11, 2025, in the amount of $106,480.05 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Council Dume, seconded by Council Bragdon. Speak of the heavy hitters.
Sure. $12,679.34 for Ascent Aviation Group, that's for aviation fuel. $18,500 for Bangor Bacon, that's the CDBG facade. Down to Dead River for $3,379.65, and that's for Public Works Oil. Elon Financial Services, that's our credit card services, that's $12,267.01. Everly and Sons for $3,332.95, that's for Public Works. That's for the roads. Harrison Schrader Enterprises, $5,689.77, and that has to do with the fire department. Main Technology Group at $3,306.20, that's for computer supplies. $21,797, that's for municipal waste solutions, that's for transfer site bill. That's the biggest ones.
Any other council comment on the order? Any public comment on the order? Seeing none, back to the council for vote on order 196. All those in favor? And that motion passes 7-0. One more, Mr. Dume. Council Dume, order 197.
Thank you. Order number 197-2025, providing for execution of the wastewater warrant for September 11, 2025. It is ordered that the wastewater warrant for September 11, 2025, in the amount of $14,691.36 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Council Dume, seconded by Councilor Figgins. Council comment on the order?
Yeah, there's only one heavy hitter, that's for $11,260.25. That's for the Flusher pump station.
Any other council comment on the order? Any public comment on the order? Seeing none, back to the council for a vote on order 197. All those in favor? That motion passes 7-0. So the next item on the agenda is a public hearing. As the clerk had reminded me, if you are here in the room, we need you to sign in on the sign-in sheet. That is a requirement, so you have it, do you have it, or is it floating around?
It's, I think everybody has.
If anybody has.
Thank you.
And you have, you're able to see everybody's name. So we see, I see Joanna's iPhone, Jonna's iPhone. Can you put your last name in so we can keep you in the meeting? Is there anybody else that doesn't have a first and last name up there? We don't want people to be here if they want to be here. So, Jonna, we need you to put your last name on the screen, please, for us. We will have to watch that. So,
John's iPhone, if you're not sure how to change it, you want to just put your name in the chat. I'm happy to change that for you. There's another one right now joining called Kids iPad. And again, if anyone is unsure how to change that, they want to just put it in the chat. I'm happy to do that for them.
So just as a reminder, for another person that's just joined our Zoom, our meeting by Zoom, it says Gibbs iPad. We need your first and last name on the screen. So we need you to change that in order to stay in our meeting. Thank you. We'll be watching the screen to see if that happens in a timely fashion.
number 2-2025, providing for public hearing and amendment to chapter 39 of the Code of the Town of Millinocket concerning marijuana. Be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Millinocket, approve the amendment to chapter 39 marijuana ordinance of the Town of Millinocket Code as attached. It is further ordained that the town clerk make appropriate changes to incorporate this chapter into the Millinocket Code and distribute new pages to all persons known to have a copy of the code. It is further ordained that the amendment will take effect 30 days after enactment.
Second.
We have a motion made by Council Brown and seconded by Councilman Holland. Any council comment before we go? Right into it? Any other public comment? We're going to start the public hearing. I just will remind people, this is the first, in your packet, if you have this, the first section of the draft is without any marking, so it's really, it's a clean version. Following those pages is the original document showing edits that were made, and then see letters crossed out, et cetera. And you'll see the language in there, where marijuana is referred to as cannabis. Councilor Bracken, would you like to take us into this conversation?
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. As promised, a few months ago, when I first got reelected, I wanted to focus on updating our code book because there's a lot of inaccuracies with not only state, but a lot of outdated laws that haven't changed. And there's so many different variations of the code book floating around. It's very difficult for an individual who wants to know what's going on to get the proper code. So me, Peter, and the CEO, Tom Malcolm, are taking an initiative to go through the entire code book. And coincidentally, when we had decided to start doing this, we had that gentleman come up and request that we look into the marijuana ordinance because there was some concerns and discrepancies with state law versus what we had, plus there was a lot of contradictions that were in the policy itself. So this is the one we started with. We're going to do more after this. We're already talking about which ones to look into after, but for this one in particular, the first section that we really updated was what's defined as cannabis and what businesses are defined as cannabis. So basically how we base this is a lot off what state references these items as. So what you see in the first section that talks about adult use, domicile, cultivation versus cultivate, home cultivation, all of that is taken based off what the common knowledge of that particular item is. So we only made a couple of changes to that particular section. And then moving on, the next section, are you bringing it up on the screen by chance?
Oh, do you want me to?
I don't know if the people in the audience want to see it. It's easier for me to see it.
Sure.
So when we did the charter, how we organized it, and we took it into what we're doing today for the code book, is we have blue and red edits, and red is what was previously there that we're proposing we strike, and blue is what is the proposed change, so you can see them side by side. It's a little bit easier for those of you that are have a difficulty going through that much wording like I am. It helps bring out what exactly is being changed in the said document. I'll wait just a minute for Peter to bring it up before I continue. There we go. My glasses. So as you can see, this was sent off to legal. We had a couple of things that we were concerned about that we bounced back and forth, so. I think I'm right, since what is it, 39, right at the top of chapter 39. Yeah, definitions, that's exactly right. So again, this is a lot of definition changes is what you see primarily. It's just updating, there's been so many changes to marijuana over the last 5 years with how businesses operate in the state of Maine that we basically just updated to what the state has plus some changes. So for example of this, at the very bottom of the big paragraph, it says marijuana, cannabis, the leaves, stems, flower, and seeds, blah, 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 blah. Title 7 MRSA. So that section completely changed with the state ordinance. So there was a lot of changes that were made. So we adopted a lot of what the state uses is for definitions and terminology. You can move to the next page. So really what we did with this section, there really wasn't much changes other than a definition between adult use versus retail. We made it a little bit more defining. So as we know, adult use is not legal in legal in Millinocket right now. We have medical,
Adele, you want to rephrase that?
adult use, so that 21 or older to buy. It's not legal in Millinocket, so you have to have a med card in order to purchase marijuana in Millinocket.
I think the
Isn't it
term
rec?
that Jane was looking for is rec.
Oh, right.
Yes.
You're better with that than I.
That's fine.
Yeah, I was understanding. Because it is now legal.
Right, it's legal, so what I meant was is the sale of it, so we don't have any sales in it, so like Medway has one store that I know of that's very popular. We only have, I believe, one right now that sells medical, in town. So, again, just a couple of small definition changes in this section. There was another code change for MRSA 102-A10, that's just the state change, and then 39-1-4 was the effective date and duration. We changed it to match what we do on a regular basis anyway with ordinance, and that's 30 days upon enactment. So that's just regular stuff that we've changed. So this is where we start making some different changes. So as you can see, there's a lot of red striped out from the bottom. We changed business definitions. Again, we changed state and A, B. We struck a lot that was really unnecessary and redundant. And then C, 50 feet of a property line of a private residence at the time an application is made. So this policy in itself would have made massive restrictions on any business really coming into here. It's basically impossible to have a business 50 feet of a private property unless they're on the outskirts of Millinocket. So that was removed in its entirety. One, to be a little bit more business friendly, but two, it's virtually impossible to have that. Moving on to D, storefronts versus 2 dispensaries. I'm going to let Peter talk a little bit more about this because he's a lot more knowledgeable with this portion. But basically what we did was we had 2 medical cannabis storefronts before. I'm just going to let you take over that section.
Yeah, so in the current ordinance, it's identified to have just 2, a cap of 2 medical storefronts. And there's interest in expanding that to include the option for dispensary, which is more of the farm-to-table version. So a dispensary operates as, they grow and harvest their own products, and then they have a retail space where they sell only their own grown and cultivated product. So it's very specific to that grower and that business. In a regular retail medical storefront, it's more traditional retail environment where products are purchased from multiple vendors and then sold through the store rather than through your home. So that's really the two differences there.
So the gentleman who came up and saw us, he was interested in doing the dispensary portion and creating a product in Millinocket, branding it based off the surrounding area. I got to see some of the logos that he was designing for the proposed business that he was trying to do. And he wants to sell it in Millinocket. So it's made in Millinocket, sold in Millinocket, and he wants to sell to other businesses as far as I know. But as last time I'd spoken to him, depending on how this went, there would have been some changes. But that was what he was interested in when he first came to us. There's no changes to E, just some business changes. Basically, it's staying the same. The hours of operation will remain from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so there's no change to that. F, so this was more of Tom's, so we refer to him on this because neither Peter or engineers or know anything about fire safety. So basically, this refers to the odor, so that was a huge issue that was brought up during it. When this policy was first created, there was one particular business in town that was complaining about property across the street. And this particular ordinance in F was to combat that. So we didn't really change anything to it other than making it a little bit more open-minded, so it can be up to whoever our CEO is in the future on how they proceed with that particular section. The rest of it, the other big change we made is I suggested the change to I, and basically where I was going with this is if a cannabis operation in town has a security system, it was kind of open-ended, but a battery backup in case of power outages, I was going along the lines of making sure that one, their security system has the operation, so if there is a break-in or there is any crime done in the area, that their cameras will have 24-hour surveillance, including power to support those cameras, or lights, or emergency exits, or anything of that nature. Other than that, we added another section to the I, so this is for fire safety. And what this is, it's called a Knox box, and Tom can talk about it. Is he here today?
He's on Zoom, and I'm not sure if he's able
So
to.
a Knox box is, it's a small key safe, key storage device that's mounted to commercial buildings, and there's one key to it that is housed at the fire department, and inside the box is keys to the property, and only accessed in case of emergency, if nobody's around, nobody able to get a hold of. So, for quite a few years, as new businesses or commercial properties are developed locally, there's been a recommendation, I don't know if it's a requirement across the board yet, but to install these Knox boxes so that, in the sense of public health and safety and emergency response, there's access to the property should there be nobody there, to get in. Yeah, that's what it is. I don't know, Tom, if you want to add anything to that. He's nodding in confirmation.
No, that's perfect, Peter, thank you.
So with that, as Peter was talking about, we are looking, as we continue doing the code book, adding this to other sections too, strictly for fire safety. And the keys will only be accessible by the fire department. Next page.
Can you pause for a second? I'm hearing that your voice is not carrying well through that microphone, cutting in and out. So we're going to do that.
Okay, is that any better?
Yeah, we'll see if Mr. Pringle has, or if folks.
Mr. Pringle, can you hear me okay?
Looks like everybody, they're saying much better.
Okay, fantastic.
Yep.
So we can go to the next page. So H, if I'm not mistaken, legal said that it was kind of, redundant to have the Millinocket Police Department do that property check. It really should be in the code enforcement officer's office to do that, considering he does every other business in town. So keeping that fair. I, just changing some general wording, businesses shall obtain a business license from the town of Millinocket. I is another big change. So what we did was we changed the permit pricing. So before it was $500 per year. So we changed it to $2,000 for the initial 1-year permit, and $1,000 for the annual renewal permit, which is extremely gracious when you look at what other communities in Maine are doing. We found that the median was between $3,000 and $5,000 is what most communities do. So we wanted to keep it fair. It is a huge increase when you look at it. It used to be $500, but what other communities our size are doing, what others are doing in the state, it's extremely fair.
Can I speak to that for a minute?
Yep.
I just want to point out that in the current draft where it talks about dispensaries at a $500 per year permit fee, none of the businesses in existence so far have been dispensaries, so none of them have been charged a fee at all so far, on an annual basis or otherwise. And, you know, since this has been communicated for the public hearing, we've certainly heard some concerns about the jump in price being from basically, it has been nothing so far for the existing businesses, up to 2,000 and 1,000, and some points made by, you know, local folks in the industry about, you know, the amount of business in town, and how concerning an annual permit fee of that amount would be to their business. You know, as we go through this process, you know, I'm quote unquote just the manager, but I would suggest that the council consider lowering that. I don't have a recommendation, but I would anticipate that there would be some thoughts shared from the community on that as we get into the public input section of the special hearing.
I will speak my mind on this. I think $2,000 is fair and $1,000 thereafter. I think if you're serious about coming to the area and doing this kind of business based off what the rest of the state main is doing, this is extremely fair. I'm curious to hear other councilors' comments. We won't stop here real quick, Chair, and take comments.
Yes.
I just have
Councilor
a-
Dume.
Thank you. I just have a question for point of clarity. Did you say, Mr. Manager, that the ones in the business community that's in this industry,
Yes.
and we have one currently?
We have one within town limits currently. We have another business owner that has reached out, who had been interested in relocating their, you know, a community member who lives here, had been communicating about relocating their existing business to Millinocket, and expressed to me that this would be, you know, these permit prices would likely be a deterrent to them making that decision. So I just want to make sure.
Point of clarity, there's two licenses out right now. One is basically sitting collecting dust, and the other one is a business retail space.
Councilor Higgins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand what they're saying about the pricing. The first year, I mean, that's 166 bucks roughly a month. And then the second year, it's only 83 bucks a month due to other than what they got coming in with those fees. So it doesn't seem too extravagant to me.
Any other councilors want to chime in on this particular?
On this item,
On this item at this time, okay, we'll come back to it.
yeah.
We'll move on then. Moving on to I, again, just regular changes there, and then same with, I think we can go to the next page, if there's any other major changes. Same thing, just regular terminology changes. I think we can move on. C, we did edit the same thing to say code enforcement officer instead of the police department. Again, it's the code enforcement officer's job to look into violations, not the police department.
Right through the end.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much else. It's a lot of, it's just a lot of updates to definitions from here on out. There is a section in here, I believe that was added from legal to add, which was a concerning topic for all three of us when we originally talked about it. If a license is purchased through the town of Millinocket and is not utilized, I believe we've decided to change it to 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, Tom? He's nodding.
So the recommendation from the attorney that reviewed this with us was to administer it much like any other, license that we do, which would be an annual license, in regards to, entertainment, victular, that sort of thing. But the 6-month point was, much can happen in 6 months, but if nothing has happened, or if there's, going to be a delay to meet that 1-year mark, that it, naturally should be communicated through the code enforcement office so that they can stay on top of it, but it would remain a 1-year period.
So that will help combat people buying licenses like what's happening right now and not doing anything with said license. Other than that, again, the rest is all just definition changes. There's no other major changes to it. So if I can take any other councilor comments or public comments on the entire word.
So, Councilor Pelletier.
Yeah, I've reviewed this and I'm satisfied that it doesn't change our standing with recreational marijuana businesses. And the one change I would like to see is 3921B, where you mentioned no more than 2 medical cannabis storefronts and 2 dispensaries shall be located in town Millinocket. I'd like for a comment to the period limiting 2 businesses in downtown commercial zone.
I think that's a fair change, actually. That's something I think we could take back and talk about.
Other than that, I'm fine.
I'm not sure how Tom or you feel about it, but I think that's a fair request.
Sure. Well, at this point, Tom and I's opinion is out the window. It's up to the council.
I still think, personally, from a council perspective, I still think it's important.
No, I understand the thought there, and the intention. When it comes to making changes at this point, now that we're in the special hearing process, after the second special hearing, when it goes to a vote of the council is where a councilor would motion to make those different amendments. So we would have to, you would have to keep that in mind and ask for that amendment at that time.
Again,
Yeah. So I will just comment on that because I know we had that conversation because this particular ordinance increases the amount of storefronts that we would have in Millinocket from 2 to 4. Now 2 would be storefronts, but the other 2 would be the dispensaries that are growing their own, and then a storefront. Any storefront has to be in a business district, it can't be out of their home. But I would want, I'll speak for myself, 4 storefronts on our main street selling the same product. So within our business district, it's not just downtown and up the hill
Yeah.
or whatever, just so that they're
highway
spread.
commercial, neighborhood commercial,
Neighborhood commercial, whatever the
the business district.
business district. So some change. That's mine. Councilor Duane?
Just have a question of why.
We have a
No, I'm asking her why. She had the intention, so.
Yeah, no, we had this discussion, we have a shortage of space down there, I guess, just more of a general, diversity, opportunities down this
If we
road.
wanted more.
Yeah,
If we wanted more than 4 restaurants, we wouldn't have, or more than 4 stores that sold clothing, we wouldn't have, or would we?
you're,
Is it the product that is the intent of just?
I guess I haven't gone that deep in thinking about it, so I appreciate your perspective. And
Just
we'll
keep
see.
a diversification of different businesses in downtown rather than 4 of the same business.
Happy to hear what, at that point, what our,
That was my opinion. And there's only so many storefronts here. And hopefully we can clean up some of the refuge we had. It's variety.
For right now.
Mr. Manager, you have another comment?
Just because the ordinance allows for, or this draft of the ordinance would allow for 4 stores, doesn't necessarily hard to say what that would be, but I just wanted to make that.
Looking to the future.
Is there any other questions I can answer, Tom, from the council?
No, before I go to the public, I will say I was happy with some of the language in here to deal with odor, because that's what we've heard before, concerned about the odor, as far as that sort of thing. This seems to me to take care of.
That was definitely taken into consideration.
So if there aren't any other councils that want to comment at this time, it's a public hearing. I will go to the public who want to speak on the changes to the town's ordinance. And have you come up to the podium and state your name and address. And if there's anybody on Zoom that would like to speak, we do the same thing, you can be on camera, state your name and your address. We will go to the public here in the room first.
My name is Kyle Fuller. I'm 169 Congress Street. So I'm here to express my support for the proposed new ordinance that would allow more medical storefronts. Right now, here in town, currently patients, if they want to buy an ounce of top shelf flour, it's $200. If you go to any surrounding towns, well, I say surrounding, but I should say if you go somewhere like Bangor, it's more like 100, 125. And that forces many people to travel long distances, and they don't have access to affordable product here in town. The issue is that our current dispensaries rely on third-party supply chains, which drives up costs. By allowing single-source operators, those who both cultivate and dispense, this ordinance creates an opportunity for patients to access more consistent, transparent, and affordable medicine right here in our community. I believe this proposal represents a real step forward in improving patient care and keeping revenue local, and I look forward to continuing discussion as the ordinance moves forward. Thank you.
Any other in the room? Is there anybody on Zoom that wants to offer public comment on this ordinance, the changes? Yes, Mr. Pringle, you may come off Zoom. Come off Zoom, come off on mute. Sorry about that.
I think I am.
Yes, I'm
Can
sorry.
everybody hear me?
Name and address, please.
No, sorry, I couldn't tell if you could hear me yet. Chuck Pringle, 1 Colony Place. Having read over the proposed changes, even though I am not a partaker in the consumption of cannabis, I really would not have a problem if there were more storefronts located in the business district area, in as much as next to any potential grower facility that sells cannabis. Hopefully there will be an adjoining restaurant or two, because those that partake in the cannabis area tend to get the munchies either before or afterward. So honestly, I wouldn't have a problem if there were 3 or 4 storefronts, even though I'm not a user. And that's my only comment.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm seeing on Zoom we have somebody named iPhone 4. Perhaps you just joined. In order to stay in the meeting, we need your first and last name, so we can read that on the screen. So whoever joined that just has iPhone 4, we need your first and last name. We'll give you a minute to do that.
And again, I'll offer to, if you're unsure how to change that yourself and you want to put your name in the chat, I'm happy to make that change for you.
So all that is happening. Is there any other public comment on the order? Things that have been discussed? This is the first reading. Our next meeting, we will have the second reading before the council members take a vote. I'm not seeing any other member of the public that wants to speak. Is there any other council comment on changes or anything that
capital acquisition project, the project, consisting of the lease of one Stuart Amos S4C street sweeper is hereby approved, and two, the financing for the project, the principal amount of $250,934 is awarded to Gleason 2 Inc. at an interest rate of 5.56%, and three, that the town manager is hereby authorized to execute a lease purchase agreement and all other documents reasonably necessary to accomplish the purpose of this vote, and four, that the town council hereby confirms its determination that the term of the lease does not exceed 120% of the economic life of the project. Five, that said, lease is hereby designated a bank qualified tax exempt obligation of the town for the 2025 calendar year under the provision of section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Pelletier, seconded by Councilor Wagner. I will just note that this has been already approved, this purchase is already approved during our budget season. This puts wheels in motion. Purchase. Any council comment on the order? Any public comment on the order? Seeing none, back to the council for a vote on order number 198. All those in favor? That passes 7-0.
If you don't mind, can you second the signatures?
Okay.
We'll let you go during the testimony.
Okay. Councilor Mackin, can I have you read order 199, please?
Order 199-2025, providing for authorization to amend airport project contract with Coyle, Lick, Tanner and Associates Inc. Whereas necessary amendments to this contract have been identified in relation to scope of work and estimate of engineering costs, increasing maximum amount of the agreement by $123,085 to $689,725. And whereas this project remains in the FAA DOT reimbursable agreement, allowing for reimbursement of 97.5% of these project costs, increasing the town portion of this project by $3,077 for a total of $17,243. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council authorize the town manager to sign and return the attached airport project contract amendment.
Motion made by Councilor Mackin, seconded by Councilor Duane. I will have the manager speak on this order, please. Order 199.
Sure. What would you like me to speak to?
Yeah, no, I think we've got two, we've got the next, three orders are all about, airport project. I think maybe, just giving some context around that, and the
Sure.
fact that this is reimbursement as part of a grant. Stretches over several fiscal years.
So this runway project began in 2022. According to, actually I got two letters from the DOT this morning confirming that the extended phases were continuing in the reimbursable agreement program. It's a really beneficial program that the FAA and the DOT offer where, as you can see, this one piece of the project, $689,000 total cost that, all but $17,000 of that is reimbursed by either the FAA or the DOT. So it's, we get millions of dollars of work out at the airport for pennies on the dollar, given our involvement in that program. So as I mentioned mentioned, this project started in 2022. This is the next phase of it. Well, we're getting into the next phase of it, and in preparing for that phase, the engineers had, come up with some scenarios that, weren't anticipated, that included some additional work to be done and some permitting to be done. It did identify that, we were saving in one category of the budget, but needing to increase another category of that budget. So the offset is what's identified in this order. And again, this is a cash flow item. It's outside of the general fund budget, which is passed annually. It's treated as any other grant that we obtain and administer locally. It is it's almost entirely managed by the airport engineer outfit, Oil Tanner, with a massive amount of work from our airport manager, Jeff. And it will continue to span, fiscal years, so. Does that meet all your expectations?
Any other counselors have comment on the order? Anybody from the public? Please come up to the.
I just have a question.
Your name and address, please.
Shelley Packard, 34 Main Ave. And I think you answered the question here. Did you say you got a letter of guarantee for reimbursement?
Yep, so it's been in that program since the beginning in 2022. But just this morning, I received letters from the DOT identifying and confirming that these next phases that we're talking about here continue to be in that program. So
I was just wanted to clarify that because every day I read this is being cut, it's being cut, these funds are coming through.
very concerning, yes.
So I just wanted, I thought you said, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question. Any other questions? Back to the council for vote on order 199. All those in favor? And that motion passes 7-0.
Airport's great.
All right. Councilor Higgins, I have you read order number, that takes us to order number 200.
Yes, Madam Chair. Order number 200, 2025, providing for authorization to apply General Aviation Runway Extension Pilot Program. Whereas the FAA recently opened this new pilot program to provide necessary funding for the extension of existing airport runways that do not meet FAA requirements for the current funding program. And whereas the Millinocket Municipal Airport is a perfect fit for this program, and if funded would drastically decrease the amount of the local funding needed to complete this project. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council authorizes and approves of the attached application to the General Aviation Runway Extension Pilot Program for $8,873,000.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Higgins, seconded by Councilor Brandon. Other council comment on the order?
Yes,
Councilor Higgins.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to comment on that.
Please.
I guess all the way through, we've known how I've talked about the program. And I'm glad this program came out. Because it definitely turned me the other way. I just want you all to know that. I mean, because we do need the airport, there's no doubt about it. I do not want us to lose the footprint that we have. And my whole concern through the whole thing was we've got so many other projects that we've got to get accomplished here in the town and the funding that is needed. So I was very happy to see this come across. So I do.
Councilor Brandon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just looking for the time frame on how soon we expect a response back on this particular grant.
Do you know that, Jeff? Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff.
Jeff Campbell, Airport Manager. We don't have a time frame on that yet. We're hoping it comes back soon. This has just started. We are going to be one of the first
evolving program where runways get reconstructed, refurbished, extended, worked on every so many years. And the FAA has very strict guidelines on how they fund those reconstruction projects. It just so happened that when it was Millinocket's turn to be rebuilt and extended, the flight data they were required to use included the 2 years where COVID, the COVID pandemic had halted air travel, especially at our local airports. So, they, viewed that as we don't have any traffic, we don't need any more than a sliver of the runway that we currently have. Had we been allowed to use data any year leading up to that period of time or any data since that period of time, the numbers are trending remarkably well. But this program is very, there's a very hard line in the rules. So for the past several years, Jeff and I and others, we've been communicating and fighting and working with senators and other elected officials and high-level executives in the FAA, trying to reverse that decision to gain the rest of the funding to do the complete project. In the meantime, at that point, the council had agreed and voted that it was a worthwhile investment and had passed an order committing to the full project with the understanding that our team would continue to either address it with the federal government while also applying for various grants along the way to make up the debt or lessen the debt. It seems like this pilot program was started because of either our airport or other airports like us and how many of us were arguing the data rules that the FAA had. So this, if funded, puts us right back on track to where we would have been had it not been for the data from the COVID years. So it's incredibly exciting.
Thank you for that additional information. Any other council comment? Here, thank you. Council Brendan.
Just adding on to Peter, Jeff has a fantastic video on YouTube where he gives a presentation of the FAA. I highly recommend you all to watch it.
I agree, I've seen that. Do we have public comment on the order number? Any public comment on this order?
Can I make one more?
Please come back up to the mic, we would love to hear from our manager.
Jeff Campbell, Airport Manager. Because of the commitment that you folks showed to this project, I think it had a great influence on what the FAA is doing out of the Eastern region. We really set an example by saying, no, we're not just going to hang our heads and we'll build what they give us. This is what we feel we need. This is what we need to build. And we really rattled some cages in Burlington, Massachusetts. I was invited to the Massachusetts Airport Managers meeting where the director of FAA Eastern Region was there, and we sat and had a good conversation about this particular program, and also presented that video that Councilor Bragdon spoke about. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. Another thing I'd like to give you a little preview on is there's some serious concern about our crosswind runway, which has been discussed before about us losing a crosswind runway. And because of this commitment, they've also come out with a new program that we're going to be probably signing up for. Is a legacy crosswind runway program, which means any airport that's had a crosswind runway since its inception could be eligible for maintenance on that runway as well. So we are making a statement to the entire New England region of what we've committed to do here. So thank you.
Councilor Bragdon.
Thank you you all.
Yeah, not a question, but a statement to your first comment. I'm gonna be bold here, but I don't think it had really anything to do with us. I think it had everything to do with your commitment. You have been nothing but spectacular when it's come to following up with the FAA, reaching out to senators, this wouldn't be possible without the work that you've done. Yes, we've supported you, but we couldn't have done that without you doing what you've done. So, no, thank you for what you've done.
Well, it goes to you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and as Councilor Vargas, I think you'll be the legacy here for us when it comes to that airport.
Yeah. Well, there's a tremendous amount of work, and along with 150 acres to mow and 2 miles of runway to plow and 4 parking lots, it's a huge commitment, and it's been my life's work, basically this half of my adult life, 24 years of it. So, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
And we do hope that you will be able to plow this winter when you're in that. Any other public comment on the order? Come up to the.
Shelley Packer, 34 Main Ave. I'm very excited about the airport possibilities. And I do want to give a special thank you to Jeff, because I have a granddaughter who has had to use the angel wings to go to the Shriners Hospital 2 or 3 times. And it's been wonderful that the airport was right here, and she could be dropped off and given the plane. Be dropped off 10 minutes from Springfield at the hospital. And I know that Jeff has a lot to do with that. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, that's a very valuable program that we have at our airport. Thank you for your comments. Okay, I'm not seeing any other public comments. We'll take it back to the council. We'll vote on order number 200. All those in favor? And that motion passes 7-0.
Jeff does good copy.
Okay. All right, so this takes us to order number 201. Councilor Dume, may I have you read order number 201?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. Order number 201-2025, providing for the approval of bid award, Airport Taxiway D, whereas the bid process has been conducted through the town's agreement with Coyle, Tanner, and Associates, Inc. It is their recommendation attached to award this project to Sargent Corporation. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council awards the Taxiway D extension project to Sargent Corporation in the amount of $1,095,959 and authorizes the town manager to execute and file all necessary documents. Bids received. Sargent Corporation, $1,095,959. Help on this order? Yeah.
Doing business as.
Yeah. Northeast Paving, $1,309,852. Gordon Contracting, $1,624,000, $463. Engineers estimate $982,603.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Dume, second by Councilor Collins here. Council comment on the order?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Councilor Dume.
Yes, I won't be saying for this vote because my employer works hand in hand with
Okay.
construction.
Any other council comment on the order? Any public comment on the order? Come up to the mic, please. Mr. Airport.
Jeff Campbell, Airport Manager, update on this project. For everybody else's information, you guys know what's going on, but this taxiway extension allows us to put 5 more hangar lots beyond the new hangar that's already been constructed out there. So this allows us to market 5 more lots for hangars. We've had 8 new airplanes call Millinocket home in the last year. So we're increasing our numbers, and we've run out of room, so we need to put more hangars up.
Thank you. Extra information. Good, that's very good news. Yeah. Any other public comment on the order? Seeing none, back to the council for a vote. All those in favor? All those abstaining? Passes 6-0. flurry of activity on Facebook related to the town's contract with East Millinocket to provide recreation services. I will say for me, other than being sent the original Facebook post and reading a few comments, I have not followed the chatter. However, I have responded to emails and talked with community members that reach out to me directly with questions. I hope that we can clear up confusion and misinformation that's been circulating about the subject matter and reassure you that no formal action has yet been taken by the council. Before I read the letter that was sent to East Millinocket Select Board last Thursday, September 4th, I want to provide some context and a timeline of how and why we got to the point of composing the letter. Last August 2004, a subcommittee of Councilor Dumais, the manager, and I were tasked with having initial discussions with East Millinocket with the offer to take the lead on the recreation service contract, basically flip-flop the way it was, which would mean that we would have hire and have the director housed in Millinocket to be an employee of the town and contract with East Millinocket. To this end, we met with 2 other selectmen and the town administrator, all of which were very interested in the proposal, and we're going to take it back to their board to discuss. It was a timely meeting because it was before they started the process of posting or hiring a new director to replace the director that was retiring. We left that meeting with what we thought was a handshake agreement. However, the ball was dropped, and we never heard back from them. They moved forward with hiring a new director, and our manager was part of the interview process. It was outlined in our contract with them that would happen. I felt it was a positive, even though the ball was dropped, I felt it was a positive step towards increased collaboration. I'm just sharing this to let you know this discussion to increase our role in providing and growing recreation services has been on the forefront of the council for well over a year. It's not something that was just conjured up. It's been an underlying theme most of the councils I've heard over the years we've served, comments along the lines why we can't have our own rec director in town, why aren't we doing more, etc. Since the beginning of this year, and actually it was in February, there were requests made by email, first by me, I reached back out to them, asking for a meeting as a follow-up to discuss, what happened, and to talk about rec services. With no success. We'll get back to you, we'll find a time, it never happened. Time passed, we were busy with budgets and other business, and it was pretty much put on the back burner. Programs are being run, things are going fine, no problems. And then we received an invoice from Millinocket in late July for $59,704 instead of $39,803, which was in our previous contract. The invoice came with no explanation of the increase nor a signed contract for us to consider. Didn't know where the new number came from. Again, it was a communication issue. We reached out again, asking for a time to meet. Again, without success. We wanted to talk about the contract. It's never been a personnel matter. It was at that point that we decided to write the letter that I'm going to read now. And after I read the letter, I will open it up to council comments and then to the public. Yes. Dear Selectmen, over the past 8 months, we've made several attempts to meet and discuss the future of recreation services between our 2 communities. As you know, up until June 30th, 2025, we were under a recreation services agreement, in which the town of East Millinocket provided administrative services for the town of Millinocket's recreation department. After careful consideration, the town of Millinocket has decided not to pursue a new long-term agreement. Instead, we will be hiring our own recreation director to oversee and develop our department. This decision is based on the belief that having 2 directors working side by side will continue to strengthen the partnership between the 2 towns, our towns, and create new opportunities to expand recreational offerings in the region. We are confident that adding a full-time rec director in Millinocket will bring more capacity, resources, and support to the area, ultimately benefiting residents across both communities. We also want to be clear that it remains our intention to keep all recreation programs open and accessible to residents and youth from Millinocket as well as from East Millinocket, Medway, and our other neighboring towns. Recreation plays an essential role in the health and vitality of our region, and we believe these programs should continue to serve the wider community as they have for many years. Along with this letter, we are providing a memorandum of understanding for your review and consideration. This document proposes a month-to-month arrangement referencing the services outlined in our previous contract. Under this MOU, East Millinocket would continue to provide administrative services for Millinocket Rec Department while we advertise for and fill the Millinocket Rec Director position. This will allow for potential overlap, providing valuable department-specific training and support to help our new director transition smoothly into this role. Rather than the larger annual stipend included in the previous agreement, compensation would be divided into monthly payments. With a stipend paid for each month services are provided. We see this as a positive step forward in strengthening our collaboration while also building additional partnerships in the future. Millinocket deeply values our shared commitment to recreation and the important role it plays in enhancing quality of life in our communities. We look forward to hearing from you after your review of the attached MOU and to the continued partnership as we move together. That was sent on a Thursday, and that next Friday morning, we received a response from the town administrator, Denise Gibbs. She said, "Good morning, Jane and Peter. Thank you for forwarding the letter and proposed memorandum of understanding. I appreciate the clarity you provided regarding Millinocket's transition plan and continued collaboration with East Millinocket. We will proceed with invoicing for July and August services, and in the meantime, I'll bring the MOU forward for select board review. Please allow a little time for that process, and if any questions arise during their consideration, I'll be sure to reach out to you. We value the ongoing partnership between our communities and look forward to continuing to work together in support of recreation services. Warm regards, Ms. Gibbs." So I would just say, as clearly written in the letter, we're not looking to do away with any of the services or sever our ties with our neighbors. We want to grow our programs. Our intention is and was to add capacity to the regional approach to recreation by adding another full-time person to work side by side with East Millinocket Rec Director and the Medway Rec Director. We know we need each other, and we have the foundation already in place due to the collaboration over the last, I'm going to say, developed over the last 20 years of successful programming. I, for one, don't want to set us back by not having a regional approach. That was not the intent. I will stop. You've heard enough from me. I know there's at least another counselor that wants to speak to this, but in general, I want, as we speak, as a council and as I need you to remember this is about the potential of having a full-time recreation director for the town of Millinocket that works in collaboration with other towns to provide recreation service. It's not about the current recreation director. I understand it's been taken personally, and I'm very sorry. That was not the intent. It's about the level of recreation services you want in our town, not the person providing the services. It's not a job performance evaluation. There hasn't been a problem. I want you to speak as a taxpayer. So, and we need everybody to be respectful. We want to hear your comments as we move forward. And as I mentioned before, if you're on Zoom and you want to comment when it comes to an address in order to speak, I will first take it to our counselors, if anybody wants to chime in before I go to the public. Councilor Duvet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, thank you for the first 3/4 of your statement, which was factually correct to my recollection of attending those meetings. I believe it's very important in this climate where everything's so spun up that we understand facts over feelings, because the way this is taken by Firestorm is inaccurate. And I don't know why it had to go the cart before the horse, because no action, as you correctly stated, has been taken by this council by vote in public, which is the only binding way that we can do things. Also, no vote or action has been taken by the select board of East Millinocket, because they don't meet until next week. So whatever was on Facebook or social media, I'm I'm not personally on Facebook, but whatever was on there probably was presumptuous and did harm to the towns in which they represent. I have here, this is all public information, but FOIA, if you request these emails, are over 12 months worth of emails back and forth from either the manager, the chairperson, and the select board or the administration of East Millinocket in detail in describing the conversations that were happening. The facts are out there. If you guys want to learn them, they're there. Don't just believe some Facebook post or some rumor mill. That's how we all get irreparable harm. So I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for making the decision to read your statements accurately, reading the letters of memorandum accurately. Those are intentions, those are not binding. It just alerts them, listen, we're tired of waiting. We need to make a move. We're working without a contract right now. That's not healthy for either community. I've been huge on contracts since I've been on this council and not handshake agreements because look how they turn out. I will reserve the rest of my, what I'm going to say after because public feedback is hugely important and I do want to hear from the public, so I'll reserve the rest of what I have to say.
Councilor Higgins.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm going to hold till after the public, so I can hear what they have to say. But I just haven't seen what it's done in the past. People should get all the facts first. And that's because I have seen it personally, how it actually hurts me. And we need this community, not just Millinocket, but East and Midland. We're depending on each other. We're out here on an island, so just look out for that. And it is very important to our children, as it should be.
Excuse me, we will go to the public. I just want to remind the public, do not bring any personnel matters towards, to us. This isn't the forum. Just tell us what you think or what you want to see for recreation services in Millinocket as a taxpayer. And if you have questions, we'll try to answer them. If not, we'll get back to you. I'd like to have a healthy discussion. Mr. Pringle.
There we go. Chuck Pringle, 1 Colony Place. I moved here a few years ago, and I am a strong supporter for the town to continue a joint agreement for a multi-town recreation director, not individual town recreation directors. Specifically, I believe Mr. Cody McCune.
Be careful. Be careful. Talk about the program. Do not talk about personnel.
Okay. All right. Instead of attempting to hire a separate director for Millinocket, the current, am I allowed to not use the individual's name, but talk about the position?
Talk about the position, yes. You talk about the position.
Okay. The person in their current position for the town was previously a town councilor for several years.
Okay, you're crossing the line. You're crossing the line. If you think the structure of the way that it's set up, I'm hearing you say that you like the fact that it's a shared position, and I'm hearing you say that I think that it's been run well to date. You need to talk in general. We can't get into personnel matters. You could send us an email specifically if you want to endorse something, but not in a public setting like this.
I agree. I did send you all an email, so I will not discuss personnel matters.
Thank you.
Now, here comes the town of Millinocket who has made the decision to hire on its own separate recreation director. The town claimed and stated via a Facebook post from the town, which was not disseminated via the town community email system, that, quote, no decision had been made, close quote. However, in the town's own words, via the letter you were previously read, which was sent to the East Millinocket Board and signed by both the Millinocket Town Manager and the Chair of the Town Council, reads in part, quote, has decided not to pursue a long-term agreement. Instead, we will be hiring our own recreation director to oversee and develop our department. In addition, town council member took it upon themselves to address the Millinocket residents on social media platforms expressing their town's opinion or individual decisions or opinions for which that person was not the authorized spokesperson for the town of Millinocket. The town of Millinocket has made positive strides in recent years, but at the same time has stumbled at times when it comes to staff hiring. Why now then attempt to fund an independent recreation director, pay for fringes and benefits, and possibly never find a suitable candidate when the town of Millinocket already has the person in place at the helm? Let us retain the multi-town recreation director's agreement for future years, as well as combining any other Millinocket town function or functions with the nearby towns wherever and whenever possible. Thank you very much. Chuck Pringle, 1 Colony Place, Millinocket.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment? The council for comment. Go ahead.
Oh,
Other
she-
public.
I'll wait.
Hello, I'm trying to think, is that Beth? Go ahead and identify yourself and your address, please.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand on Zoom anymore. It's Beth Freelander, 229 Main Avenue. I sent a letter today and copied everyone on all of the councilors. And I totally agree with you, this is not a question of personality. To me, it is a question of what is the cost-benefit analysis? And I've yet to see what additional programs, I haven't seen the cost benefit analysis net. The number of kids are going down. As some of you know, I've been working in the school for almost 17 years now as a volunteer with the kids. I have a pretty good sense, I think, of what they've got and what they don't have. I don't really do much, just when I way off my screen. And that is my question, is why is this worth it to us? Why is it worth more than what we're currently paying for the position we share with the Millinocket? And where is the demand for additional recreational programs coming from? As the number of kids we have continues to drop. I mean, I don't know how many kids are in the school district at this point, but 10 years ago, it would be 50 kids graduating, and last year it was less than 20. And that's my question, before I would agree to, before I would think it was a good idea to hire an additional person for this kind of role.
Thank you, Beth. I could hear in and out part of your question, and if there's another councilor that heard it all and can respond better. I will say we don't have a cost benefit analysis at this time. The only thing that we'll put it out there that it would be increased cost to the taxpayer in around $50,000 to take on a full-time new position, and that's if it was at if it was at like a $50,000 annual salary rate. Everything else related to our rec department is in our budget currently. It's already budgeted for. The only thing that is not budgeted would be for the rest of the personnel costs. And that would be variable depending on, who was hired, what kind of insurance they would need. So that is an estimate at this time. I think
Right. I agree with that, the cost side, but I don't see is where the benefit side is.
I think,
Councilor Dume.
thank you for your question. I think the chairperson was trying to say is that we haven't even reached that point yet where we even looked at the numbers yet, other than very broad strokes, because we haven't made the decision that people think that we have made that's alluded to in the letter that Mr. Pringle's talking about, in the context in which we framed it to the town of East Millinocket. So we haven't even got to that legal decision point making of investigating into that far. And East Millinocket has not either. So neither one of us have numbers prepared. That's so far into the future that we haven't even thought about that yet. We were still hoping for contractual negotiations, no matter how that looked, between the two communities. And I think that we're still hopeful that those may come to fruition. I think if that's...
I hope it comes, I hope so as well. Having read the letter, and spent some time pondering it, if I was East Millinocket, that certainly is not the way I would have read it. And I certainly don't think that's the way they responded to it. But these things have been put out. So, in my mind, if that letter landed on my desk, I would read it as we are intent to discontinue our relationship and hire our own.
Shortly, and ma'am, you have to remember that there's 12 months or more of trying that approach to no avail. So the attempts, the appearances, those attempts have not been made, and the truth is, those attempts have been made, and there's documentation behind it.
But again, if it's a communication issue, that's different than we're about to spend, if it's a $50,000 salary, once you fully burden it, you're looking at $75,000, and that's where we want to spend it. That's all. I just want to see the numbers.
We appreciate your comments, and I've come to learn that there's many different interpretations of it, and perhaps some of the language wasn't as clear that it could be, and my name is signed off on it for the entire council, but I will take responsibility for that. I may be a little Pollyanna in my thinking and hoping and thinking that a way to organize our services could be possible if we had three solid rec directors working together in collaboration. It would just add capacity to all that we could offer, still not, diminishing or taking away any kind of offerings that it would strengthen. It would just be a new way of organizing. I've been told differently, and I'm listening to other people's perspectives, and I welcome everybody's perspective on this, so we continue to think about it and digest what's happening. So, continue with comments. We'll go, Sandy. Is that Sandy? Yes. Thank you. You have your hand up. Go ahead. Sandy, name and address.
Sandy Sullivan, 104 Sunset Drive. Did I understand you to say the current contract was $39,000 and you were presented with a bill for $59,000 with no explanation?
Correct.
For a $20,000 increase? I would certainly want East Millinocket to explain a $20,000 increase before I sign any contract that included any position where we were contracting with them everyone, well knows my feeling on the police contract. If they came in with a huge increase, I would say the same thing about them. They need to explain, is this $20,000 going to the recreation department? Is this a $20,000 increase in salary that they're giving to their recreation director? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I will say, we do have a new participant on the screen, Brittany. For you to stay in the meeting, we need you to put your last name, please. Brittany, who's joined our Zoom meeting, please put your last names so we can see it on the screen. Otherwise, we'll have to remove you from the meeting. Do we have any other public comment that I'm not seeing? At this point, if you're in the room,
Madam Chair.
oh yes, in the room, come up to the mic, please. Name and address once again.
Shelley Packard, 34 Main Ave. I have grandchildren that are in the rec group. And I think it's very unfortunate the way East Millinocket is behaving. Because I do think I have seen such a great improvement in the last 6 to 8 months in what is being offered to my grandchildren and what they're participating in. But I personally don't feel that we have enough children to have one just for Millinocket. I don't think we have enough kids to have 3 schools, let alone 3 rec directors. I just don't think, that's just my opinion, I just don't think we have the students to create, because we have to combine the cross-country with everybody to get around. We can only have one man football, because we don't have. I do think that in the last few months, we've had a very good program going. So I just want to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your comments, and others have shared the same thing. And there, we need to have a regional approach. We cannot lose that. None of us.
But I have found, I don't know if it's appropriate to say here, but I have found it isn't just recreation with East Millinocket, where there's no cooperation.
There's some difficulties.
Yep. Thank you.
I think we'll bring it back to Councilor Bragdon.
Thank you. Many know me for the first term that I had. I was very vocal about, which was 4 years ago now, was very vocal about having our own rec department before I got on board, and I'm still in favor of having our own rec department. I'm not going to go into why personally, but I'm going to talk about contractually why. I think Councilor May hit it right on the head. It's financially irresponsible to not have a contract. And begging and pleading can only take you so far before you say I've had enough. You know, we did our due diligence personally, is my belief, that we reached out and attempted to have a contract with them, and we got basically no response. And the responses we did get were very short when they did respond. I received an email that I asked the individual to forward to Peter and have a conversation with him as well. I think there is programs that are expanding in Millinocket, and as we've discussed, as those programs continue to grow, I don't think one individual, anybody, could handle what's coming, personally. There are so many programs that people don't understand that are coming up and things that are happening, and there's many programs that aren't in the rec department's purview that I personally believe should be and have been attempted to be pushed in that direction, that would be a burden to just one person to manage with all the responsibilities that come with that particular position. I personally think that having 2 rec directors working hand in hand to benefit our children, my son, and all of his friends that are going to be in the school system that are coming up, is the smartest and best approach And I've said it since day one, I don't care what it costs, as long as my son gets the benefits that I had when I was a kid, in the programs that were there, then I will pay any amount of money to make sure that him and the kids in the school system will be happy. And I still stand by that today, and I firmly believe that having two rec departments that work hand in hand will be most beneficial to our students and our kids. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councilor Bragdon. Any other comment, Councilor Pelletier?
I certainly would echo Matt's statements, and just to address a couple of the comments I've heard, as far as participants, we are, mic off.
Yeah, is the mic on for people here? Councilor Pelletier speaking?
I think so.
Yeah, well, to address a couple of the comments I've heard, number of participants we are opening these, keeping it open to all the region, not just the 3 towns as well. So, the numbers are going to be there for participation. And as far as programs, one that I can think of right off is we'll be opening Mosquito, and that should be bringing a lot of traffic, I would think. So there's some increasing right there.
Thank you, Councilor Pelletier. Any other council comments? I will go back to the public since somebody else has responded. Go ahead. You awake?
Madam Chair, we got a message from Kelly Gardner, she wasn't sure how to raise her hand, but she would like to make a comment.
So Kelly, you need to come on video. We have somebody in queue before you, but if you come on video and we see you, I'll go to you next. Thank you. Hold on. So Andrew, I see you over there. Name, address, and Andrew, you may go next.
Hi, Andrew Caruso, 20 Crestlawn Avenue. So, Jane, as you know, I sent you an email expressing my concerns about this decision, which, as Ms. Zoolander said, reading the letter that was not shared by the current director, but was actually put up by one of these town councilors on the Facebook post. It definitely sounded like this was a final decision. I'm glad to hear that you guys are at least considering what we, as a community, are expressing to you guys. So my biggest concern, like Mr. Zoolander, is the cost benefits of doing something like this. When I know recreation is more than just athletics, but the 4 major sports in this town are already being run by volunteer groups, volunteer boards. So what does that mean for a recreation director to do? You guys keep mentioning this word expanding programs, but nobody's talking about what that program is gonna be. Things have been working pretty well, in my opinion. I'm on the recreation commission with 6 others in town, and I would like to see us continue to work hand in hand with East Millinocket. It's unfortunate that they're not responding to you guys. And I see, sorry, Ms. Gibbs was here earlier, and she since checked out the Zoom. I would love to have heard her opinion as to why they're not responding to the emails you all have sent. But really, the cost and the benefits of having our own recreation director versus keeping things as they are and growing programs with the current setup that we have. I would love to see the benefit of that, and you guys explained it. It sounds like, even though this has been going on for years, you guys haven't really done your due diligence before sending that letter, as far as, the cost analysis and what this person would be doing for a job. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate your comments. Councilor.
There's one more, right?
There's one more. Yeah. Kelly Gardner. Kelly, do you put your
Hi.
name and address?
Kelly Gardner, 369 Compatted Ave. Can you hear me okay?
We can. So far.
I agree with what both Beth and Andrew have said in terms of the cost benefit. I guess my biggest concern in hearing you guys talk tonight is that if the communication is so lacking with just trying to figure out this situation, I'm concerned that hiring a rec department director for Millinocket and claiming that they're going to work together worries me because the communication between the two towns has not been stellar for the last 12 months.
Don't disagree.
I do disagree.
Okay, Councilor.
I think we have an excellent relationship when it comes to the police department. Those contracts have been very successful. Currently, we are exploring fire and EMS. I'm part of those discussions. Multi-town, Medway, East Millinocket, and Millinocket is trying to figure out fire and EMS collaborations for future. So I think there's many avenues. I do know that there's a citizens group that's kind of picked up the torch of where the councils and the select boards have failed in the past to collaborate with regionalized school systems or participation in that avenues. So those are exciting times that we all know that need to happen. So I think that there are several things that we're working on, intercommunities, that are going to be and can be very successful. This is just one blip on the radar that it can be overcome. It's just we all need to be accurate and forthright and take the feelings and emotions out of it and work with the facts, I guess, is the...
Yeah, I appreciate your comments, Councilor Dubay, and I guess, Kelly, when I say I agree, I understand your concern.
I wasn't talking about any other contract.
Right.
Right, we're specifically talking about recreation, so that's where the communication breakdown has been, and that's where my concern is, in the fact that if you guys have a rec director for Millinocket and there's a rec director for East Millinocket, and you talk about in this letter and in your meeting tonight about the collaboration, but so far in the last 12 months, the collaboration with the town councils and getting this figured out has not been good, and so I worry about that moving forward, specifically for the rec department.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Councilor Brandon.
I also disagree, but for a different reason than Councilor Dubay. I think there's a huge difference between two directors and a select board and a council who have full-time jobs outside of this. They're there all the time, and I think it's a lot easier for two directors to communicate and make decisions than to wait for a council or a select board to make a decision in a meeting. Especially with the communication that we've gotten over the last 12 months. You know, two directors that are talking, whether it be face-to-face or phone-to-phone, I think is a lot easier than a council and a select board making the decisions, which is basically what we're doing right now. I think if East Millinocket had a rec director, Millinocket had a rec director, I genuinely feel those two individuals being responsible of their own departments would make the best decisions for those departments, and if needed, then go to their individual boards. Thank you.
Can you clarify something about that comment?
Yes.
So if there's a rec department, so there's a rec director for both towns, they get to make decisions without coming to the town council and without going to the select board.
Hold on 1 second.
You couldn't hear.
Just 1 second. All right, try again.
Just 1 second, please.
Sorry. You can try that one more time.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay. So I just want to clarify, if there's a rec director for Millinocket and a rec director for East Millinocket, they can make decisions without coming to the town council or the select board.
Correct me if I'm wrong, councils, but I think for the most part, unless they're spending certain funds and it's in their purview of their department, then yes, they could. I mean, unless there's council or selectmen action that's needed based off our bylaws for our charters or bylaws in general, then I don't think they need our input. I mean,
In a town council forum, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. In a town council forum, if we had any department head is led by the manager, and the manager alone, after the council has made their decision, the manager manages that employee.
correct.
I imagine, I don't know how it works with the select board, if the departments answer to the select board or to the administrator, I don't know that answer.
But, absolutely, that's what I'm getting at. Once we pass their budget, it's unless there's more money that needs to be spent, from my understanding, they don't need to come to us. And if they do, it'd be an order that the manager brings to us or has a discussion with us on.
We don't stipulate
So
the programs.
Okay, exactly.
So currently, if the rec director who has been doing both, if he wants to do anything and make decisions about the rec department, he has to go to both the select board and the town council to make any.
He's not the town of Millinocket's employee, so no.
At all.
He's not our direct report.
Correct. He doesn't report to Millinocket because he's not a Millinocket employee. The position is through East Millinocket.
But at the employee level, that position and my position can work together and do work together to implement, whatever new changes, or if there's a surprise expense or an idea for a program or something, that's something that we can handle at our level without council approval currently, and that would continue, and across the board in all departments, from rec to public works to PD, there's a lot that happens daily and weekly at the employee level that we are able to, that we do very well together, and can make decisions. Major changes or decisions above our authority need to be made by the governing body at the request of us. But in most cases, these types of things can be handled at the employee level, and usually are.
Okay, and the only reason I'm asking these questions is because the way that you made it seem was that if there were two directors, they wouldn't have to involve, there would be less people involved in comparison to how it is now. So that's why I'm asking these questions. That's how he made it seem.
That, in my opinion, that's exactly what I said. Two
Right, so
directors.
I'm trying to understand how that is, because you just said that right now, the director for East Millinocket, who has been covering for Millinocket, doesn't have, he can directly go to the town manager and make those decisions, so that's still only two people involved.
Right, but. What?
No, I'm lost at this point.
I'm trying to think of a different way to explain it. In my eyes, two directors in two towns, as programs continue to expand, which again, I'm not going to get into detail, I think it's too difficult for one person to handle. And I think there's two individuals versus one in each town, or one in three, each town being Millinocket, Medway, and East Millinocket. I think it's a lot easier to collaborate and work together without overburdening one person. And if that happens, the communication doesn't deal with the council, like you said about the 12 month. That wouldn't take that doesn't play any retrospect is what I was getting at to your comment. I think it would be the same, if not better, with 3 people or 2 people than it would be with 1 or 2 people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Simmons.
A couple notes, Madam Chair. Right in that letter that you read, it states that we were proposing a month-to-month agreement. Because currently, right now, the big thing is we're working without a contract.
Currently month to month,
Right. And it said in the intention was to work together. And listening to some of the other people that were talking earlier, a good example of how that works. I mean, we see it right now currently working with fire departments. Right now, our fire department talks to East Millinocket, and they sit there and they collaborate. Okay, who you got here that can help? If something happens, who can you over here? Can you cover this? I mean, I don't have enough people for this. I think it takes more than one person. I honestly, is there an assistant rec director? No. And how many programs? And then we've got other programs that want to come up. I mean, there's a lot of interest for some of these kids around here. I mean, right now, my youngest is actually he's graduating, so I'm not into that as much as I was before. I'm getting involved with the programs. I mean, I did volunteer for stuff. I've seen grandparents that volunteer for stuff. I mean, we got the ski tow that's coming up, that's gonna be big. And there's, like it was brought up earlier, last winter, Cody, you talked about the...
I'm Zachary McEwen.
Oh, sorry.
I wore this just in case. I'm not.
Yes, it's a brother. Sorry. And it was a matter of some of the concerns about injuries and insurance, and with all of that happening, it's all about the kids and making sure they get what they want and need, and to give them the benefits of what's not here right now. I mean, we see what's happening in the world. We see what's happening on these streets of this town. I mean, we've seen it with the police department. I mean, we have more calls in Millinocket than we do in East Millinocket. I mean, it's sad. The children need something to keep them busy. Take them off the streets. Get those programs out to those kids. And if it's a matter of one person and two, and collaborating, just like we've seen it work with the other departments of other towns. We need to come together for the kids. And just, everybody, just, hold up their big boy panties.
Councilman Wallace.
Briefs.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone who's spoken. I have a little bit different take than my fellow councilors. I would like to see us continue with a combined contract. I myself think that because we are moving forward with making progress with, we've got the police department, we're working on the fire departments, this initiative going with the schools to separate and have two different directors, in my eyes, is a step back. I think we need to work together. It's unfortunate that East Millinocket, for whatever reason, has been unwilling to respond or to be, I'm not sure what's up there. It's very frustrating. I'm frustrated with it. I hope, it's unfortunate that it's turned to this, but I hope it's a wake-up call for them, that we do want to work together. My position on it is that we continue to do that. I'll respectfully disagree with Mr. Bragdon. It has run well for the last several years, and I don't think we're going to have this big influx of programs. I think what we provide is wonderful, and I would like to continue to work together. That's my stance. I appreciate everyone who has spoken. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Wallace. Please come up. Yeah, come up to the mic.
Madam Chair, Chuck also has hand raised, also here.
If Chuck can speak before.
There you go.
It's okay.
So we'll go back. Chuck, go ahead.
Chuck Griggle, 1 Colony Place. I wanted to add, based on the many comments I've heard, that I still in my mind have not heard a compelling basis for us to hire a separate director based on increased programs or programs we would like to do, but none of the programs or any of these additional programs have been mentioned during this meeting. In addition to that, it sounded like the town council started to steer away and wanted to discuss about the collaboration with the fire department and the police department, but we're talking about the recreation department. And I think we need to stay focused on that and not what may be working well with the fire department being separate and the police department being over in East Millinocket, whether or not we have a justification to have a separate recreation director. To add the additional fringe and benefits and costs that are involved by hiring another full-time person for whom that person may not be fully engaged. And lastly, based on what I've heard, maybe, the town council, if they think if it's that justified, is to keep the current contract with East Millinocket, with the recreation director, consider hiring an assistant director or another person, shall we say, subordinate to the recreation director who's currently filling that position to backfill these additional programs or thoughts that some of the town council is bringing up that they plan in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We have a couple of councilors here that want to respond. Councilor Dumais?
Thank you. For those in the back that cannot hear me, we are not operating under a contract. We are being billed at 150% of our former contract for those that are worried about the fiscal responsibilities to the taxpayer. Ballpark, and these numbers aren't a deep dive into numbers because we haven't reached that point yet. At $50,000 at the current mill rate would be approximately $20 to your tax bill. Approximately, ballpark. But if you're that concerned about fiscal responsibility and what we can afford, what we can't afford is being billed without a contract at 150% of what we were being billed at.
We can speak to that, yes. I was in the town office today when we got the invoice.
So, yes, this morning,
New information, hold that thought.
this morning we received an invoice at the correct rate for.
I retract all that last statement.
Should it be at monthly rates? As we continue these discussions, as we mentioned, or you mentioned, that, you know, both governing bodies have not had a chance to work through this yet, and it is not ready for this discussion yet because it wasn't prepared for this yet. There was a lot more work to be done before it was brought to the public for consumption and discussion and public vote and presentation of a plan. You know, that point had not been attained yet. But this morning, we received an invoice for the correct amount for the months of July and the month of August. And all is well in that world now.
Thank you for that new information, Mr. Manager.
We still have contract.
And I will mention, we still have, last year, it hasn't been uncommon that we haven't signed the contract right in June before it started. I have our last year's contract and it wasn't signed till October. So that has happened in the past and we haven't, you know, sort of missed a beat and the programs have continued. But that's not good practice. I'm not saying that at all. And it was the intention, you know, that services continue as is until we, you know, things, you know, we did make a decision and we were waiting to hear back from Millinocket. They don't meet again until next week, so that we have to see how their conversation goes. Did you have, we're gonna go, we've got another member of the public that wants to speak. Are you?
I just wanted to respond to Mr. Pringle. Mr. Pringle, I wasn't pushing that about the fire department and the police department. I was just saying comparing as far as how the collaboration could work as far as between the two towns, if it went that direction. Right now, like it's been said here, we have not made that decision. I mean, this is.
Thank you. We're gonna go. We have somebody else in the audience here that's gonna speak. Thank you, Mr. Pringle. Come up to the podium, please.
Hey, everybody. Hello.
Name
Is this
and
close
address.
enough?
Yeah. Thank you.
Adjustment here. Little sound and audio AD. Hello, I'm Zachary McEwen. I live at 14 High Street here in Millinocket, Maine. This is to cover just a couple of points. I'm in a position where I am biased, but I'm going to speak directly only on administrative matters. I'm here as a teacher, a music teacher here for the community. I work directly with the students. I teach pre-K through 12 through an entire week. I teach every single student in the elementary school, as well as some middle schoolers and high schoolers. I'm at a direct site that's seeing population decline. My smallest class today was 9, sitting on the rug floor playing blue markers. Having a great time, but Just speaking on population, there's truly not a clear lack, or there is a lack of population, and it just seems a little bit strange to want to divide those services back up after having probably over 20-year span of those services sharing across the population as it declines. You know, we talk in the future about populations increasing due to school system sharing, then that's another conversation. But as far as for just community and what families are here and what there is for housing available, it seems a little off-put for a decision. That's my opinion. I also want to say something about role and responsibility as far as somebody catering to a position currently that covers a wide, vast area. I teach across 13 grade levels in a position that used to be separate for an entire general music teacher at the elementary school, as well as an instrumental educator for grades 6 through 12. And it's different than it was 20 years ago. So you have to adapt and overcome to what's needed for somebody that can lead a torch in that manner. And you do have to put on your big boy pants. And sometimes those pants are for one person. So thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate your comments, thank you. We have another one on public comment. So Sandy Sullivan, you have your hand up.
Sandy Sullivan, 104 Sunset. I just have a question for the town manager. When you say you will build correctly, you will build at the $39,000 rate or the $59,000 rate?
The the invoice we received this morning was for 2 months of what would be the $39,803 rate, which formally was billed, within 2 bills throughout the 2 invoices throughout the year. So we paid half in the beginning, half in halfway through the year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, is that the last 2 months or the next 2 months that we were billed?
July.
So it was the last 2 months that we were billed.
Yeah.
Clarification.
At the normal rate.
At the normal rate.
Okay. Councilor Pelletier.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on Zach's comment, I really appreciate your service to the school.
Yeah.
It's great that you do what you do, but you mentioned pulling back and serving our community with decreasing numbers. Well, that's not what we're doing. We're trying to enhance participation in our community. And that's what we're going to be doing, is getting a director to try to pull in other communities, participants to our programs. Thank you for your comment.
Any other council comment? We'll wrap this. I just have a question. Come up. Yeah, we're going to bring this to a wrap.
Shelley Packard, 34 Main Ave. I just had a question. If the council decided that this is the way they wanted to go, to get their own director, is that something that would have to be, we'd have to have public meetings?
Yeah.
Discussion? Okay.
No, we would have to come back and we would have to vote on it. We would have a public hearing. I think public hearing, public discussion, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that is the way that our government works.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm gonna, pull this back in, and I will bring up again what Councilor Dufay had said. We know that the select board meets next week,
No, continue.
and we are, we're open to having further conversation with them as a result of all this. So, we're not done, and I just we've heard all the concerns and questions, and we will further be considering those. So let's wrap it up. Councilor Brockman.
That's exactly what I want to do. I want to thank every single person that's in this room tonight. I love this. This is what I signed up to do. We as counselors, in my opinion, for the last 4 months, 4 years of my term on and off, vet very little comments on important discussions, and this is what I signed up for, is to have common discourse and come to a solution that benefits our community. And to have this and have this amount of people turn out for something they care about and voice their opinions is why I do what I do. So thank you so much for every single person that's made a comment tonight.
Councilor Knight?
Yep, and in closing, I'd like to also thank everybody too. This is great participation. Communities need to do this more often. Fortunately, not under these circumstances. But East Millinocket has a meeting on Tuesday night. Please bring the same fervor, attitude to have them work with us, just like we're willing to do with them, and press upon them the same concerns that you have with us, and ensure the two communities can get back together and heal the situation. Thank you.
Are you allowed to go to those?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, will you speak to
If
that?
I may address that, I believe if you ask permission to speak as a not citizen of the town of East Millinocket, then they would be able to either approve your comment or not.
I think
Just as we do.
you can just go and attend. We've done that as citizens. So.
You can go and attend, absolutely, but if you'd like to speak, you just need to ask permission.
From the chair. Thank you. I'm going to move on. Reports and communications, warrant committee for September 25th. Council meeting will be Councilor Higgins and Councilor Mack. Are you good with that? All right. When it comes to chair committee reports, that's up to me. I'm just going to mention as far as the age-friendly committee, we are hosting the 5K that's happening this weekend during Trails End Festival. Registration 7:30 and the walk run starts at 8:30. I'll register you, you show up, I'll be there. And show up for all the other stuff that's going on with the Trails End Festival. Did you want to put a plug in before, as part of the Trails End Festival?
Madam Chair, I also from the Trails End Festival as their current president, on a lot of hard work with a very small board and an even smaller budget, have pulled out still again this year a 3-day full free event, other than donations accepted for some, music, other entertainments as in officer canine derby, dunk tank, if I may plug, town manager will be there first to set us off, and maybe a few officers, one Mr.
Feel free
Layton.
to take out your frustrations.
I wasn't gonna do that.
I'll be in the dunk tank.
Madam Chair, may I have mine?
You're welcome to dump me.
So Officer Lakeman, Officer Edson, and also SRO Profido has signed up, and he's gonna fill in anyone that if they don't show up. So it's gonna be a great turnout for the dunk tank. Again, a lot of headliners, so please show up. Big props to Elks Lodge for going to host beer, wine, soda, and water tent as well, Friday through Sunday. That came in last moment, so it wasn't plugged as on our poster as we wished, but yes. Please, community, we are asking the communities to come together and let's enjoy this weekend. Free events for the town with a lot of donations and sponsorship. Thank you.
You're going to put a little plug in, Mr. Manager?
I heard a rumor.
No, you didn't. No,
Trails
it's
End-
gonna be a motion to
The
adjourn.
Trails End Festival
Second.
has landed to actually bring smoked salmon to Millinocket.
I
New band.
wasn't looking just one, but since you did, yes, our headline honors.
That famous band coming here.
Yes.
How did you get them to agree to come to Millinocket?
I think we should nominate
Did I
Madam
hear
Chair to
nomination?
represent the council.
There we go. All right, we're not going to carry over. So,
You're here.
Second. I'm going to take back this meeting and go into 2-minute public comment. Is there anything we haven't covered that somebody needs to speak on? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Brad,